We waited 6 long years and 100,000 miles to make this video. 6 years ago, when this was only a 2-bay repair shop, we inspected this car when it had only 70,000 miles on it. As we would with a pre-purchase inspection, we went over everything on this car, the engine, the transmission, the suspension, the brake system, all the faults in the car to make sure it was in good, functioning, working order. Fast forward to today, and this car now has 170,000 miles on it. That means we get to see what 100,000 miles of road trips, daily driving, potholes, and everything in between can do to a car. This is a 6-year experiment of the durability of a Mark 7. Now, 6 years ago when we looked over this car, it was in great shape with the only notable issue being the all too common water pump issue. If you're not familiar, water pump and thermostat housing issues are really the most common issue and only notable common issue on these engines, which is something that leaks, which we promptly fixed with a DIY video that we shot on this specific car. Something I am actually genuinely curious about is I did this water pump nearly 100,000 miles ago. I hear stories of people who get their car done at dealerships who say, I've done 3 water pumps, 4 water pumps in 70, 80, 90,000 miles. I'm curious to see the condition of this pump because it's been 100K since I personally did it. We'll find out if I did a good enough job in a little bit. Before we get into the negatives, let's talk about a few positives. Most notably the fact that this engine has gone an additional 100K on it, 170 total, and has no major mechanical issues. The transmission, also great. Now, the most interesting part, this turbo right here. Let me explain. This car has a factory 5-speed transmission with a stock clutch still existing to this day in the car. That's 170,000 miles on a stock clutch rated for 170 horsepower. Because of this upgraded turbo, this engine makes about 300 horsepower and it's been installed for 4 years. All of this time, and it still has the stock clutch that's not slipping at all. People online often talk about how you have to upgrade clutches instantly as soon as you add more power. And again, there's a lot more power added to this car. But what it shows you is that driving style makes a big difference in terms of the longevity of your clutch. Let's look around the outside of the car real quick. These aftermarket headlights were installed in the car about 5 years ago. The finish of them is kind of fading and the clear coat is peeling in this spot. This happens on a lot of these inexpensive aftermarket lights, but the alternative is factory lights that cost thousands and thousands of dollars, so that's kind of what it is. As you can see, it has a GTI fender, and so is the other one. And the reason why these have GTI fenders is because Nathan was a hot boy and he slammed this thing down so low that it baconed the fenders from the coilovers being too low. So just a word to the wise, if you want to be a hot boy, it comes with hot boy fender cost. You may not notice, but this gas door doesn't match, and the reason why is because it was peeling, so it got wrapped in vinyl to make it not look disgusting anymore. So as if the car was painted for whatever reason, or the gas door is painted. If they do a bad job, it peels and it looks like garbage, and that's why using good paint people matters. We've all learned the hard way on that one. And that, as you can see, that's pretty much it in terms of the exterior of the car. And if we go to the interior, it's in great shape because it has the interior that came from the transplant car that we swapped the Jetta engine from. It has a full GTI interior that has a lot less than 170,000 miles on it. Let's get this car in a lift so we can take a look at what's wrong with it. We're gonna start by inspecting under our hood, and that starts with our engine cover removal. A few things that are notable to point out. Right here is first one. Down here on this timing cover, there is quite a bit of oil that's been leaking. This is a fairly common problem on these Gen 3 engines. Now you can replace just the gaskets on these, but we don't recommend that. Most notably because these bolts that go on this cover have gaskets on them themselves, and the bolts are like, I think they're like $10 a bolt or something ridiculous like that. So we sell complete covers with the gaskets and everything, and that's actually a more affordable way to fix it. So we have kits, single cam magnet ones or dual cam magnets, which would be like a GTI or Golf R1, both on a site, so we'll link to them, where you can buy them. So this is our cam cage or your valve cover, and you can see, if you look down here, there's a little bit of seepage of oil, and this is not uncommon, and on older engines, this was a much bigger issue. Now on older TSI engines, that leaking would leak down the engine and actually would cause the water pump to fail prematurely. That is not a problem on these, although cam cages do sometimes need to be resealed. This one is not terrible. Also, that's a very labor-intensive job, and it's like 9 hours to do a cam cage reseal. Speaking of issues, Let's talk about what has broken on this car in the last 100,000 miles. The turbo was replaced at 120,000 miles because the wastegate broke. The water pump broke, no surprise there, it leaked, as these all commonly do. This car has had 3 wheel bearings, 2 front, 1 rear, and a blower motor went bad because it does happen sometimes, and this one failed. All of that adds up to about $2,100 in total repair parts, and again, most of that is actually the turbo. That's without labor. If you don't DIY that, you can more than double that cost because some of those things, especially the turbo, is fairly labor intensive. That's why DIYing through our videos, you're welcome, by the way, is helpful because you can save some money. Let's get back to our inspection. Now here's the thing that we're gonna find. If you look at the battery, it's been replaced a few times over the years, but this is something that I tell everybody not to do. And this is a power wire. Number one, it's bent almost a complete 180, which is really a great look. And number two, it is powered directly to the battery without a fuse. This is a big no-no. Nathan, whose car this is, films and edits our videos and has edited me telling you not to do that, but he did it anyway. This is a headlight module. These are relays. At least it's not directly to power because it's relayed, but it's still, you should have a fuse. Because if something fails and it goes directly to shorted to ground, that's when you cause a fire in your car. Now, when we look at this under the hood, you can see here's our coils, 1, 2, 3, 4. This has a cylinder 2 misfire that is very sporadic and very uncommon, but it sometimes does misfire, which is one issue that this car currently does have. You know, normally a misfire is something that would be a cause for alarm. Because this happens infrequently, it's not a 5-alarm fire, but it is something you want to not let go for a long time, because that's what I think happened to the Golf R, which is how the engine blew up. Now let's check the oil, because this is a thing that happens on 1.8T cars, is they burn oil. And you can see it is low, but it's not crazy low. So like, just for context, this is where your oil should be if it's full. It's probably about a quart low. He's having to add probably about a quart every 2,500 miles, which is definitely consuming some oil, but that's nothing for an engine of this age with that many miles. The most common engines we see that are 1.8Ts that burn oil are Passats and Jettas. And I think the reason why is because people do not change the oil enough and they don't use quality oil. And the combination of those two things make them torch through oil. And just for context, when I say torch through oil, I mean, you're talking about a quart every 300 miles. You're talking about every time you fill up your gas tank, you have to add a full quart of oil. Like, we're talking about serious oil burning. Sometimes to the point where on some of the engines, they foul spark plugs out in 100 miles. This car doesn't burn oil in that way, and again, probably because, number one, we don't think it happens on these as much, but number two, Nathan changes his oil pretty frequently. If you have a car that is burning oil because of the piston ring issue, which we've covered in other videos, there's a fix that's been around for a little while now that we're using at our shops. It's been pretty tested by a lot of Audi dealers for a while now. We tested a Berryman product on this car for carbon buildup on the intake valves, which did not work. But this Berryman product is used for, actually it's a fuel injector cleaner that we use to decarbon the piston rings in these cars. So we will have a video coming on that at some point, but TBD. And on Mark 7s, this is not uncommon, is that you'll have migration of coolant into this connector. Now this one is bone dry, which is kind of surprising because it's pretty common for that to have some coolant and some crusty in it. But 170K, bone dry. If you have coolant migration in your car, you need to replace the bottle and maybe the connector and maybe the wire ends. The pressure of the hot coolant in here will force coolant through the wires into the sheathing and inside of your engine harness in all different places. Don't let that happen. Let's take a look underneath. So this is the moment of truth actually that I care about the most on this inspection, which is the water pump leaking? Glad to report after 100,000 miles and nearly 6 years, there is not a drop of coolant or any sign of coolant leakage in that vicinity. And I'll tell you why. You want to know why you went to a dealership 3 different times to have a water pump replaced in 65,000 miles? Because the guy who replaced it didn't take off the intake manifold, replaced it like he was Ray Charles, didn't give a rat's about how much attention to detail. He didn't clean off the engine block before he slapped a new water pump on. He just slapped it and went. And then guess what? Under warranty, he got paid to replace it again. So it leaked again because he did the same thing again. It doesn't happen at our shops, by the way. You can go to one of our shops, DAP Repair, one in Ohio, one in North Carolina. We have another one coming in South Carolina. Or you could do it yourself if you want to buy one at shopdap.com. That's an alternative option. Now we're going to crack this drain plug loose. So Nathan has been using an oil sucker to suck the oil from up top for the entirety of this car, basically 50,000 miles, he said, I think, since it's been had a drain oil change. So this will show you kids at home who argue about whether or not draining your oil is right or wrong, or it's gonna ruin your engine or whatever. This is a magnetic drain plug, and we will find out if there's anything on there after 50,000 miles. And we can look at the condition of the oil too, that would be neat. So this is our magnetic drain plug. So there's definitely some stuff on here. Let's see what it is, because I genuinely don't know what we're looking at here. It does appear to be metallic because it's sticking to the drain plug. This is metal. It's not a lot, but there is some there. You could say this is one of the reasons why you do a magnetic drain plug, right? Is to catch all that stuff so it doesn't keep circulating in your engine. All this here was all like metal paste, essentially. Anytime you're having an engine that's under operation, you're gonna have some metal wear over time, which is one of the reasons why you do stuff like this. And I don't know if I would say that's normal, because I don't have a ton of cars that I've tested long periods of time without changing the drain plug. But yeah, it's great that you saved it and got it out of that stuff. And the truth is, and this is what people freak the out about, is that they're like, oh my God, metal in my engine. But what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You're gonna go tear down the rip out the engine of the car, tear it down, have somebody rebuild it for 10 grand because you found some metal on a drain plug? Have this, get it out, clean it out, and as long as there's no problems with the engine, you're good. Now, over the course of the life of a car, you gotta do basic maintenance stuff. So let's talk about everything done in this car and what it costs. 20 oil changes, 10 cabin filters, 5 sets of wipers, 4 sets of tires, 2 batteries, brakes all the way around, spark plugs, coils, a brake flush, all the filters. And during the 100,000 miles of owning that car, between repairs and maintenance, here is our total cost. And remember, that is only just parts. So if you were going to have a shop like ours do the work for you, you can probably at least double that cost if you're gonna have labor done for you, which again, is one of the benefits of DIYing your own stuff, or you can bring it to a shop. Now, one underneath inspection you can see right here is there's significant scraping to this. Now, this, I actually don't think it was nearly this bad. This was here though, or when this car was purchased. All of this is all new. And the reason why is because Nathan's a low boy. He scrapes going into his driveway and probably many driveways. And you can see that carry through to the oil pan right here. You can see it also carry through to the subframe right here. That's gotten pretty good contact. You can see the subframe back here also has gotten pretty good contact. Also up here is pretty good contact. Right here, there's pretty good contact. When we look over this car, we're not gonna go crazy in depth on the suspension because the truth is, there's really not much to look at. Most of these bushings look the same way they did before. It has things like an upgraded sway bar in the rear. All the whole front stuff, axle boots, CV boots, tie rod ends, ball joints, all of that stuff still looks the same as it did 100,000 miles ago. So really, this is a testament to Mark 7s and how solid they are as vehicles, is that you can go 100K without completely rebuilding the suspension. Now, to be fair, we live in the South where there's not heavy amounts of rust. This control arm, as an example, looks better than a car that has probably 60,000 miles and it's up in Ohio. So that is a variable that happens, and you will get different types of wear in different parts of the country. So maybe what I'm saying is a testament to the South, not to the car. God, Nathan, Hercules, tighten this thing. Did you record that loosening? What did you do, dude? Don't tighten the filter that much. I mean, it shouldn't not require, I promise, it will not come loose if you don't tighten it that much. I promise you what you will do is you'll break your oil filter housing if you continue tightening it like that.
You want me to tighten that?
Yeah, please do. Genuinely don't know what the you're doing. Genuinely don't know. Like, what are you doing? 25 plus 5 Newton meters. I promise you, you must have done 125 Newton meters. Let me show you. Okay, it stopped. All right, so it stopped. That's good. That's plenty. So what's the moral of our story when it comes to owning a Mark 7 in terms of reliability? I would say this is a very solid car in terms of reliability. There is a big number in terms of cost of owning it during that time. And I think this is a more important point, is that car, I have confidence in saying that you could continue to drive that car for many more miles to come. It's still a good value. And here's a really interesting way that I think to think about it. When you buy a new car and you drive a car from, let's say, 0 to 80,000 miles, your cost of ownership is generally not going to be very high in terms of repairs or even significant maintenance is all you're really going to do. But what you're paying for is two things. One, your car payment, and two, your depreciation of that car over that time. So massive depreciation over 80,000 miles. When you start at 80, in this case, and you go up to 180, your maintenance cost is not the car payment because your car doesn't depreciate that much between the 80 and 180. And so the value of what you're paying to maintain that car is the offset of the new car, right? In the later part of a car's life, you pay for the cost of owning it and making sure it doesn't break. Either way you pay. So you pick which one you want to pay for. You're gonna pay. Yeah, unless you bought a 1994 Toyota Celica. It stinks like cigarettes.